Hey, what's up everyone? Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. And damn, if you guys haven't seen it yet, Turd Flinging Monkey actually did an absolutely stellar video recently. Probably a little over a week ago at the time this video is posting, but it's recently for me. And in that video, he goes into one of the root causes for a lot of the depression and suicidal tendencies that ex-military men seem to suffer from. I'll be linking that in the description box below, so go check it out. But if you don't feel like it, here's basically the Cliff Notes version. A lot of these veterans, these ex-military men, they've been conditioned by the military to view that as their identity. They are soldiers, they are warriors, they are protectors, they are Marines. That has been beaten into them the entire time they were in the service. That is who and what they are. That's what they live for. So what happens when they're no longer soldiers? They're no longer Marines. And I just know I triggered some Marines out there too, because that's a huge thing I noticed among them. They always give the whole once a Marine, always a Marine speech. But if that were really the case, then there'd be no reason for the depression, now would there? But that tangent aside, what basically happens is once these men get out of the military, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, the military does pretty much absolutely nothing to readjust their attitude for a civilian life. These men have basically lost their entire identity, and it's never going to come back. They are now in a position where their entire identity, everything that they lived for, was taken from them. So at that point, you really only have two options. You either find something else to live for, or, well, you're gonna die. And one of the things I noticed is, and I commented on his video too, that this does not seem to be nearly as big of a problem for the men that joined the military later on in life. Those that joined pretty much fresh out of school, yeah, they're the most screwed by this. But then you got guys like my dad. He joined when he was like 31. He was already too old for the military to reprogram. He, funny enough, came to the same realization that Fos did in Land of the Lustrous pretty quickly. Being a soldier is not nearly as glorious as the stories would have you believe. It's a dangerous line of work. That's pretty much how my dad saw it all the way through. To him, the military wasn't an identity, it was a dangerous line of work and a means to an end. And he's been out for over a decade now, and he's happier than ever. And this was after he did 21 years. He actually wanted to get out like right at 20, but then the Iraq War happened and he had to get stuck in a little bit longer. So anyway, I bring this up because I think TFM brought up a very damn important point when it comes to identity. Because the same thing applies to guys who get divorced and then commit suicide. They don't just commit suicide because they lost everything. Stuff you could always get more of. But along with it, they lost their identity. These guys see themselves as, before anything else, fathers, husbands, protectors, providers. That is their identity. That is who they are. That is their reason for living. So when all of that is suddenly stripped from these guys, if they don't find something else to live for quickly, things aren't going to end too well for them. And this honestly is a problem that a lot of guys in the Red Pill community suffer from. I've actually had guys ask me this before. They're still struggling to do anything with their lives other than chasing pussy. They're basically asking me what else is there to live for if not to go and get a wife and reproduce. And unfortunately, I can't really answer that question because every guy has to find his own reason to live. But I can give a few hints though. There have been plenty of childless, never married men who've made quite the mark on society. Some famous ones include Nikola Tesla and Isaac Newton, for instance. So if your identity really must be tied with how useful you are to other people, then I'd focus on charity. Or if you actually have some legitimately good, rare, and in-demand skills, just focus on improving people's lives that way. But guys like me, we're a lot simpler. I may be just a code monkey, but I work in security. The work I do and the products I work on are legitimately used to save lives. But I don't consider my job my identity. I don't consider what utility I provide to other people or to society as a whole my identity. I don't consider my gender to be my identity. That's a big one right there. If your entire identity is what's between your legs, then there's really not much to you. If someone wants to get all deep and philosophical and ask me who I am, I don't bring up things like that except maybe as a footnote. At heart, I'm just a fun-loving asshole who likes anime and video games. And more recently making YouTube content too. Except this hobby is freaking awesome because it makes a supplementary income that actually supports the other hobbies. I also like collecting ball joint dolls and building plastic model kits. Things like that are the first things that come to mind when someone asks, who am I? I automatically think about the things I enjoy in life. I am just a guy that happens to enjoy these certain things. But even then, I am pretty damn proud to not take it a little bit too far. There's people who enjoy things, and then there's the fanatics that, again, tie their whole identity to it. They associate so strongly with the things that they like that if you insult what they like, you're basically insulting them as a person. That's another danger you may want to avoid. If someone's insulting the things I like and they're not an obvious troll, yeah, sure, I defend it when necessary. But I don't view an attack on the things I like as being an attack on me personally. I simply step up to defend the things I like because I'd like to see them continue and thrive. After all, how else am I going to keep enjoying them? But even if something happens and I lose some of the things I really enjoy, and you could argue this is what I live for. I live for my hobbies. My work is a means to an end. It's a way for me to make the money to afford to do the things I enjoy in life. But what happens if these things I enjoy in life suddenly get taken from me? Well, I'll just find something else to enjoy. That's kind of been happening to some degree with gaming. I don't play games nearly as long as I used to, even 2 or 3 years ago. These days I'm lucky if I play like maybe 10 hours a week. On the other hand, a lot of that free time is going into anime now. I watch a whole lot more simulcasts nowadays than I ever used to. I used to watch like maybe 3 or 4 shows, now I watch maybe 30. All that time I would have spent gaming's just shifted into anime. And if the newfound much more powerful Western influence on anime ruins that too, I'm just gonna find something else. I'll probably just read more manga, though that'll probably kill my wallet. I can finish the average manga volume in an hour, and that's even though I'm taking my time to enjoy the art. So $7 to $12 an hour is quite expensive for entertainment. Well, hey, I could also just make more plastic model kits. Those usually take me a few hours. So yeah, sorry if this seems like I've just been randomly rambling, but I'm legitimately just trying to make a point here. Be very careful about what you choose to tie your identity to, especially if it's something fleeting like your job. You need to have something else to live for, some other reason to get up in the morning. And from personal experience, I find hobbies are basically the things I enjoy to be a good substitute there. As long as you're not hurting anybody else and you're not being an overall drain on society, there is no reason to feel guilty about just living for what you enjoy. You don't need to be a useful utility to other people, as long as you're not being a drain on them. But you always have to have something to look forward to, some reason to get up in the morning. Even if it is as simple as wanting to see the next episode of your favorite anime and just, oh man, I can't wait, man, just 3 more days, it's gonna be so cool. You gotta have something to keep you going. Because if you don't, you do risk falling into a legitimate depression, and then you start to wonder things like, why am I even here? What's the point? And you know what that leads to. So please, do yourself a favor and take a little bit of time to think of what you've decided to pin your identity to. And if it's something that could ultimately lead to your destruction in the future, you may want to reconsider it. Trust me, you'll be a lot happier. And that's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.